go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate. Niggas don't know what to think. Thought I get money, you change. What you thought we was the same? Still stay away from them clones. Niggas better leave me alone. Talking about niggas is low. Run with niggas who don't know you. Whoa, I make that zagging when city to city. You niggas not hot in your state. If it was money to get a hit Henny, we get it and never complain. Same go for the gang. And we split it up all the same. I can't really eat, let's stay straight. Cause we go way back in the day. My day ones from back in the day. They still hang around me today. You wanna come round us, you can't. I'm rolling up loud, it's great. Lil' mama, she bad but complain. Cause I'm too in love with my dreams. And I gotta get on the plane and go get this money with OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate. And then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang.
I get the bag with the gang. Taking that Zach to the bank. Henny be all in my drink. You niggas is stupid, you think that should change? You not even hot in your gang. Ain't nothing even hot about your gang. You niggas be lying about same. Be posting them pictures of guns for the fame. Niggas just look at me different now. Say that's your man, but he a clown. Don't fuck around with the fuck arounds. Little nigga, you should cut it out. Me and my niggas take different routes. Punch a bitch nigga all in his mouth. Hold up my nigga, we different now. I need a Robert, this is my style. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I get a bitch today, she probably a foreign model. I get a check today, I spent it all tomorrow. I'm with my gang today, tomorrow never promise.
OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang. OG, I draw up the plate, and then he go get the cake. Then we link up with the gang.
I think I'm cute, I know I'm sexy, I've got the look that drives the girls, while I got the moves that really move them. I send chills up and down their spines, I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy, I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. Let's go! I make them hot, I make them shiver. They just get weak whenever I'm around. They see me walk, they hear me talk. I make them feel like their God ain't real. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. Let's go! Eat your heart out, that mic flipped up. Hands off the merchandise. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And as always, folks, I am in airplane mode, folks. We have a special show lined up for you today. It's so special, I kind of feel bad about it being on YouTube. I ain't gonna lie. I don't even know if people that's not even in the gang, that's not even in the community, should have access to this shit. But as a community service, y'all, we're going to give it to the people. We got to give it to the people. As some of you may know, your boy Pocket Locker 86, the United States champion of word wrestling entertainment, had to do what I had to do this week. Why is that, y'all? Y'all already know. Because champions have championship responsibilities. I had to appear at the Global Center for Religious Research's international superstar-filled eConference on atheism. I was joined by people like Derek Lambert from Mythvision, Derek Bennett, Richard Carrier, David Fitzgerald. I mean, the list of names goes on and on, folks. Matter of fact, at some point, I might even just show y'all the list of names. But what we're going to do today is I am going to share the presentation that I gave with you guys, because I realized it was a very important presentation, and it's something I think our community actually really needs to see. It was a fucking legendary conference. Missed you guys all weekend. So happy for those of you that joined us in Gther. It was one of them Gther type things, man, where you don't want to broadcast it because, you know, people are paying money to attend the conference. But hey, if you're hanging out in the virtual office, but those of us that were there really did grow a lot from it, and definitely excited to share my portion with you guys. But before we do that, as always, we need to go ahead and get into the groove, catch a vibe. So let's go ahead and get into our communion ritual. Please raise your glasses and hold on to your asses. Through him, with him, in the unity of the flying man. All glory and honor is yours, who flied for our sins forever and ever. You may drink. y'all so much. That was our communion hymn. Let's go ahead and do a double dose of communion song. This first one comes to us courtesy of Foy Vance. It is our community theme song. It is super important to today's presentation. This one's called Where Everybody Knows Your Name.
Dublin, and he's going to play us out. You're going to play what to finish us up?
Do you know what? I don't know the name of this song, actually, but I know the song, and so will you.
Oh, I look forward to this. Foy Vance, take it away.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came.
All right, I got Liz Allen first. Thank you. 10,000 pockets.
You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Well, all those nights when you got no lights and the check is in the mail, and your little angel on the cotard by its tail.
All right, Caterpillar.
Your third fiancé didn't
5,000
show.
pocket change. Thank you so much.
Well, sometimes you wanna go where
Hey, you bunch of
everybody
fascists.
knows.
You're all a bunch. No, stop this. No, you're all a bunch of fascists. You fascist. Sorry. Lena was third. I just got a little bit excited. I needed to call everybody a fascist real quick. All right, go ahead. Back to the feel-good, blase, and the Glavinoids.
And you're always glad they came. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Well, you get out of bed and the coffee's dead. The morning isn't looking bright. You shrink right off to Europe and he doesn't even write. Your girlfriend says she's not a girl.
Whoa.
Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody knows your name. And they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
Foy Vance. Most common word coming in by text, Foy, is goosebumps. Believe it or not, we've had that repeatedly across a whole series. If you want to see Foy Vance's cheeky grin when he sang the line, "When you find your girlfriend is a guy," you can go on.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all know that's the OG classic. That's the way to get into it. But we gotta do our thing. Let's get this OG Roddy in there.
Whoa.
The I Love You mix. Ready for takeoff.
Hey, what up? They know my campaign. Now they running up on Roddy like it's second place. They wanna know if I'm a prop or I'm the real plane. Landed in Austin and I even brought my own strain. Gang, yeah, fuck is they talking about? Link up with Freddie, got it booming cause it's Mo South. Then we hit the spot, my OG had it packed out. Getting love in every city, what it's all about. Facts. Yeah, know when I'm back home. At the blueprint eating chicken with some bad Jones. And they bad, but not like the one that's at home. And she bad, but not like them kids we have, Lord. Yeah. I'm still up in my mode. Hit my connect, he make the clothes. I run the give and go. Just ask the ones who fucking with me if you didn't know. They say the plane was always on it and he always gone. I love you. I want you. You're the one that I live for. I can't take it anymore. I love you. I need you. What can I do to make you see? You're the only one for me. I told Jay I'ma just stick to the code. He wished me well and told me how he been noticing growth. Told all my niggas down on Serato, let's get this dough. Figure of speech, I'm just saying my niggas gotta glow. Yeah, I thought I changed up, but in fact I just got better at the same stuff. Even when I was a minor, I was major. Independent, I remember how they played us. Yeah, you see it's funny though. See how everything changed, getting money, bro. Seen them even throwing shade when it's sunny, though. On the plane, I ain't even in a lane, though. Yeah, but I still be on the road. Head to toe on all my merch, I'm smoking at the shit. And they booking Henny too, I gotta bring my bro. Wonder if and when I stop, I tell them never know. I love you, I want you. You're the one that I live for. I can't take it anymore, but I love you. I need you. What can I do to make you see? You're the only one for me. I love you, I miss you. I need you in my life. Can't you see what you mean to me? Baby, come hold me tight. I miss you, wanna kiss you every time.
All right, let's get into it. I don't like cutting records off, man. As a musician, DJ, that shit don't feel right. But like, oh man, let's go ahead, man. I'm so excited about today's show. Man, what we did, I have to change the view just so that y'all can see my entire slides without my camera being in the way. Let me get a good look at that. Yeah, for the most part, you'll be fine. Yeah, you'll still be able to read everything. All right, so, man, I just have to thank all of you because, man, what this journey we've been on together has been incredibly inspiring and life-changing for me. And it's really starting to manifest in where I'm at in my career and the things that we're doing. And so this was really crazy because this was, for me, a big first, a big part of this vision when you start to think about what am I hoping to do in this space of counter apologetics or atheist content, whatever it is, and for me, a lot of it was, you're looking at it like, I don't know, like you wanna get up in there, you wanna have a voice, you wanna have a channel, you wanna have a space for, hopefully people to come and hear you out. I know how I've always been touched by this Jay-Z quote. When I heard Jay-Z talk about his whole, performing and shit like that, he talked about how you make the music selfishly because, basically you're coming from a certain perspective as an artist where there's something you got to get out of you, something that you got to make, something that you got to create, something hopefully that you got to say. But then when you perform and the people give it back to you, he was talking about it like that. And I was like, that always stuck with me because that requires people, because I'm a big Jay-Z fan, at least, always was. And it's, it's like that understanding that it's because you've made it your own, and it has value to you. So, there was that, right? But then there's kind of like there's those fantasies, right? Of, making something that matters to people and, becoming part of the community's bigger conversation. And in my case, certainly thinking about, man, look at what these academics are out here doing. And, wishing that somebody like me could be a part of that, right? I noticed that, like I always talk to y'all about, like that there weren't really evolutionary biologists brought to the table in the same way scholars from these other disciplines are, even though evolution is one of the most talked about subjects in all of these conversations. And I never really blamed it on the field. I just saw it as there really hasn't just yet been that quite right overlap. And I've certainly, since I've been out here, become acquainted with more people who are teaching evolution, or people like Gustick Gibbon and different people who actually have it as explicit part of their training or whatever. But yeah, it definitely was something that you kind of dream of, right? Like having a place in that. And then you think to yourself, man, maybe we'll do things like go to atheist conferences and talk about, I don't know, whatever the fuck academics talk about at these conferences. And I certainly never imagined that we'd be able to do anything like that because, quite frankly, I'm still dealing with COVID. I'm not going to try to turn this stream into that conversation necessarily, but let's just say it restricts what I feel capable of doing socially. So I wasn't really anticipating anything like this happening, at least until I put more ambitious effort into traveling. But through the good grace of Derek Bennett and Derek Lambert from Mythvision, I'm telling y'all, Derek's just the type of guy. Y'all know, you hear people talk about Derek, but he really does look out for people, right? So he kind of went out of his way to be like, yo, this conference needs some more diversity, and I know just the guy type of shit. And, they were, to their credit, it was kind of a 11th hour type of setup for me to get involved. So I want to thank Darren Slade and the conference organizers, because they were real cool about everything, real taking everything and updating everything on the fly, and just making the process real easy for me to get everything situated and figured out. So big ups to them. But it was a bit surreal, right? Finding yourself with this opportunity, like, oh, wait, so I'm about to actually present at an international eConference on atheism, like a legit scholastic conference in this community with some of these other people that I've just been such a huge fan of and watching for so long. And in a sense, fantasizing about the opportunity to actually engage with people like this, and here it is. And so that was just really, really fun. What's up? I see more people coming in the chat. Really, really good to see everybody. What's up? Crystal, Maya, YouTube Punk. Per Aspera's here. Good to see you. Good to see you. Was hoping you would find us, and also I'm gonna get with you on Discord and get you set up with everything to make sure you're finding your way in the community easy. Actually, I kind of forgot to go through the chat. Let me do that real quick. I got Liz, I got Kata, I got Lena, I got UC Love, I got Crypto Mystic, Caterpillar. Oh, hang on, I'm missing stuff.
It's
All
too
right, Liz.
terrifying.
I'm sorry, I lost my place on my track card. Crystal, Maya, non-believers in the house. Of course. Prosperous, new here. Cameron Bennett, gang, YouTube Punk. What's up? It's so good to see everybody. So yeah, y'all. So I'm just keeping it 100 with y'all. You know what I mean? We keep it real around here. We have fun. We could put on a show, but I see no need to be pretentious about it. It was a really exciting opportunity, right? But then the crazy thing was, I couldn't shake the idea that really I should talk about Gther. And so it was just kind of like really, it's just crazy to me, like literally that like you get an opportunity like that and you're like, but this thing, right? You're like, yo, this thing we're doing in this community, like I gotta understand, man, that's the deal right now. And really wanting to talk to them about my research, right? Because you got to understand, for me, y'all, I'm over here on the sidelines as an evolutionary biologist chomping at the bit, man. Like, let me get in there, man. Let me show y'all what we about, because I really do think that, I'm going to be honest with y'all, I think most people are underselling the role of evolution in undermining most religious doctrines. And we neglect all the litany of ways that religious thinking is problematic from an evolutionary and scientific perspective. And also, ironically, the way that it informs us, right? The way we understand so much more about how people believe, why they believe, the history behind the beliefs, and all of that type of stuff. So, of course, I want to bring that to the table and talk about my work, my teaching, how all that relates to the subject, the unique case for digital evolution, which is something that we've only really begun to touch on. But I kind of want to revisit Cliff's debate with Finding Truth to start to show y'all a little bit more about that. But all of that to say, it was a real serious decision for me to say, like, okay, hopefully we'll have time and opportunity for that. But right now, especially wanting to appeal to a broad audience and, speak to the moment, right? It really feels like what we're trying to do in Gther addresses such a critical need for community building and maybe enhancing the way we build communities online. And it's really been life-changing for me and for a lot of us in this community that use it on a regular basis. And those of us that use it all the time, it's like, yeah, you can't even fuck with us. Like we're just Gther people. Some of us like live in Gther. We're like when the good question is, when are we not in Gther? We gotta probably lurk in Gther while we sleep and wake up and keep at it. We created a whole Gther just to sleep at. So we live in Gther pretty much. But there's a reason, right? And what I realized in the process of making this presentation, and even more so in the process of presenting it, was that it really makes the case in a way that I think needs to be laid out for the community. And I'm gonna have to get better at, giving people the short version or the elevator pitch or whatever. But I thought, in a way to share that conversation with y'all, because I did have an hour and a half for my session. And so I spent a good hour on this presentation. I was able to really kind of get into it. And so I thought I wanted to share that with y'all. And we could kind of follow up in the same format. I don't know if there's a lot of people here in Gther with me, but I did put the link in the chat, but I don't think I'm not sure that I don't think I pinned it. So But let me pin this link first. It's right here. If y'all want to hop in, I could have up to 10 people in here with me, so I could fit 5 more. But I'm gonna tell y'all what I did that was super, super special. Now remember, this was 11 o'clock last night on a Sunday night. So motherfuckers got to put their kids to bed, do what they got to do with their partners, or get ready for work and school and whatever the fuck they got to do the next day. But that was the time slot we had. The conference is on Mountain Standard Time, so they're 2 hours behind. And so I asked people that hang out and gather to join me in Gther. And then the idea being I'm going to give this presentation about Gther, and then I'm going to switch my screen, show them our Gther, and kind of have the gang hanging out with me in Gther, and then give everybody an opportunity to talk about what they like about Gther. And we had 10 people in Gther at the time, which was super strong. It's actually the limit of free gathers. But it was a really, really solid showing. And man, it just worked out magically to allow the scholars that were there and the people in attendance to, and it's recorded, to be shared with that community. You know, what we all see and what the potential is. And so I just want to thank the people that did that again. That was super, super special. And yeah, man, I'm just really, really excited that we were able to do that. And it felt like bringing the gang with me. And the feedback was really, really positive. And so yeah, it was awesome. And that's kind of the intro. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get on into it. All right, sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name. So look, we're going to divide this into 3 sections. The first section is called You're Using YouTube Wrong. The second section is called Trolls and Trademarks. And the third section is called A Better Bar. Now, introduction. This presentation is about the need for community, all caps. While locked down during the pandemic, many people found themselves engaging more intentionally online, but virtual communities are nothing new and more than an adaptation to a public health crisis. When done right, online community building transforms lives. And that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the journey that I've been on with this community and talk about how to build community going beyond spaces where you're broadcasting or doing social media. And I'm gonna be going through the ups and downs, literally. We're gonna start by going up, talking about what's beautiful. We're gonna go down the valley of what the limitations of social media and new media are, and then we'll go back up and talk about Gther. But I want to make it clear that the real focus of this presentation is about community building. So when I talk about the limitations of certain platforms, I'm not trying to crap on content creators or, trash the platforms, right? It's just I want the audience to become aware of the limitations that we've become aware of and what we've done to try to grow beyond it. All right. So the first section is called You're Using YouTube Wrong. And this is about the atheist bar hop. So the first thing is YouTube University. I often say to my colleagues that YouTube is the largest public university in the world. You can learn about everything from cats playing piano, right, to hanging out with some legit and elite biblical scholars, right? And so here we see 4 examples of what I call the internet's ivory tower. People love to learn. They derive pleasure from engaging in education, teaching, and learning. This creates a tremendous opportunity for academics to gain a passionate following via broadcasting and social media. And so these are four of the scholars that I think of in my own personal journey of, when I got into scholars that were currently doing research related to disciplines related to my journey through and out of religion. These are people that I was excited and still excited about coming across, right? And so we have Dr. Josh Bowen, Dr. Kip Davis, Dr. Bart Ehrman, and Dr. Richard Carrier. And it was super cool to interact with Richard Carrier at this conference. And one thing I will say about Richard that I think that struck me about at the conference, and I'd love to tell him about it. He impressed me in the way he engaged with others at the conference. The one thing that I love about Rich Lenski, who was my graduate advisor, and most people, know him for running the longest evolution experiment in the history of science, but he really is a tremendous scientist who leads by example and has created a tremendous culture around him. And part of that is that he participates more meaningfully than anybody in the room, always. Meaning at conferences or presentations or seminars, he's always there, paying attention, present, engaged, asking questions, facilitating conversation. And Richard Carrier really was like that. There was a few people who were pretty much at every session, always super active in the chat, asking really meaningful questions and giving really meaningful feedback to every presenter. And whatever your opinion of Richard Carrier is, that is a sort of behavior that is really important academically. To care and give that extra effort, it makes the difference of a conference, right? If everybody just sits there and doesn't engage, it sucks, right? And I just really noticed that about Richard and just thought it should be mentioned for those of you that are curious about my opinion about things like that. All right, so moving along, my next slide is actually one about Derek, is we are Mythvision, the case of Derek Lambert. And I want to talk about sort of, the journey that I personally had that made me a fan of Derek, and how that is an example of the way things are done in this community that are very different. So when I first started finding this content, I was actually being a real big nerd. I was just looking for examples of public speech, so maybe lectures or debates or whatever that had bad sound, right? It's kind of a weird challenge, but the idea being that the internet and multimedia. Remember, I'm a big science and multimedia nerd, right? That's my other passion. We have these treasure troves, right, of these amazing thinkers or these great debaters or these great scholars, right? And sometimes, that's some of the best way to get to know them. And unfortunately, a lot of times they're old recordings or they're bad recordings or they were done with bad setups or in bad rooms. And so the sort of preservation value of them in terms of their enjoyability can be greatly increased by addressing some of those issues. And it's also a fantastic way to teach people practical approaches to solving audio problems in post-production. So that was really what I was about. Yeah, I know. You're so glad you know that about me now, because it just fucking amazing, thrilling shit, right? But quickly, I actually became really super excited about the content, and that's kind of when I started listening to like the Christopher Hitchens debates and the New Atheist and Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins and Daniel Dennett, that whole crowd. And at some point, I kind of went beyond that because of the fact that I really got sick of listening to half of the content be the ridiculous apologist. So if I'm watching like a 3-hour stream or something, or sorry, 3-hour like video or whatever, it's like, you know, half of it's Dinesh D'Souza or William Lane Craig, right? Or some fuckface I don't want to listen to. So it's like really annoying. It's really annoying. And so I moved towards, you know, secular content, and where I was just getting those people doing their lectures. I was listening to their lectures, their interviews, maybe audiobooks, podcasts, whatever I could get my hands on from these people, where I could just hear them, you know, kind of feed my need for intellectual validation, quite frankly, to just finally just feel like I was finally like, oh, like I'm good, like I'm okay. Like it really was like intellectual empowerment, right? Because I felt like I really journeyed out of faith in really precarious circumstances. And you know, it was I felt like I did it alone, really. Right? I didn't have an atheist community. Like that was not a thing. That was not a thing. I somehow made my way out, mostly on my own. And I think to be honest, guys, I feel like that's the difference between me and so many of the Christians we deal with. Like they're so exposed to all of this stuff that it's weird to me. And then I'm like, yo, you gotta just try to get them out. Just try to pull them out, right? And people think I'm being mean. I'm like, no, that's what I wanted somebody to do for me, because everybody was like, you guys, everybody, I guess if people didn't know around me, they were too nice to fucking tell me or try to set me straight. Or maybe I was that into it that people just didn't think it was a good thing to do. But anyway, I'm getting into a lot more here than I did during the presentation, but that's what I want. I want to share this all with you guys. So when I started to find the current atheist content creators, and yeah, I'll say it, like one of the early people I found was Doug, because I really liked his Why I No Longer Go to Church sermons like these. And it was a game changer for me, because I realized there was people kind of making content now that really appealed to me, that it wasn't sort of like these sort of, you know, fancy academic weirdo formal debates, because there's only so much of that, right? And then that, you know, they weren't talking about like, oh, well, this ancient philosopher da-da-da-da-da-da, and this da-da-da-da-da. It was like, oh no, this Christian right now, or let's talk about like what this pastor is saying, like in his sermon. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm into this. And so where somebody like Derek comes into this is his channel was like a total game changer, because his channel was actually bringing to me all of this scholarship. And it really was transformative in my personal journey, because again, as like I'm starting to talk to you guys about, I don't talk about it too much. I don't know. I'm just beginning to figure out how to open up about these things. But it was incredibly important in my journey, because it helped it make sense to me. Like I started to see, oh yeah, the way I felt about evolution and my feeling so called to this discipline, this study, like it has value. Like I'm seeing that scholars have fans. Like people value our shit. Something you guys may not totally realize about me is, you know, I have this background as a performer, and so my need to feel people's very visceral. It's like very real time. You know, I like to prepare and then perform and then have that immediate feedback from the crowd. And, you know, the same thing is true, I think, about teaching. So to believe it or not, when I do research, I'm doing something very selfish. And it's actually a problem in my career. Like it's a tremendous thing that I do my research because I literally have burning passion for the questions and the topics and shit. But I don't see it as a way to connect with people. So when I don't always see it as a way to connect with people. So when I do research, I see it as I'm scratching an itch for me. And it means I don't have as much of the bug for publication as I need to, because I'm not thinking about sharing it. I'm thinking about figuring it out for myself. And then when I do it and I have it, I'm like, oh, I have it. Because again, it's just not that immediate feedback. Be honest, it's why I've had to shift. Most of my research topics now are strategically research topics that relate to education. That way they're more integrated into my teaching and outreach efforts. That way there is that, you know, that sense of preparing for them to play a role in those more visceral arenas. That's been a huge part about my professional motivation. But anyway, finding Mythvision was like, whoa, okay. Like, people really do get the value of what scholars are doing, and they want to hear about that shit. Like they're learning for fun. Their motivation for learning is not me. Like I do evolution. Y'all know me. Where's my damn sound effect? I do research for money, y'all. Like it's, you know, it's such a tremendously there we go, baby. It's such a rewarding way to make a living. But it inspires me that people do so much learning for their own personal enjoyment. And the thing that eventually happened is not only did I really look forward to Derek's content so much, I started to realize it attracted a certain type of person, right? That was very much like me. And you start to realize there's this whole community of people that are like having this incredibly high level conversation about these things. I gotta be honest with you guys. I call you guys Bible and philosophy nerds, and I know it sounds like I'm shitting on you, but it's kind of funny because in my own life, people think of me as like a, you know, like a super deep thinker or some shit like that. Some kind of like fucking intellectual type. And y'all know I don't see myself that way. I just want to fucking like watch wrestling and smoke weed and play cards with my dad. But, you know, and then also like definitely a super Bible nerd, right? Like I've worked at the church and I've like, you know, I've read the Bible and all that shit. And I was really a serious Christian and everything. And I went to Catholic school. And so I had theology class my whole life. And I was always like, you know, really serious about studying it and everything. And I really love studying theology, actually. I wanted to be a priest. It's sort of weird. I related to the Catholic theology because that's what I studied in school. But I didn't like the fact that Catholic priests had to be celibate. And so it's like weird. I would have been happier, I guess, as a Protestant minister, but I was more into Catholic theology growing up, but then I didn't think celibacy was the way to go. So anyway, but yeah, when I found this community, it's like actually feeling like, man, I'm like light work for these people. Like these people are so into this shit. Like I don't know. Like I'm never mind. I'm a worship musician who, you know, I know a lot about the Christian worship experience and what it's like to be part of a congregation, right? Because, yo, the level of nerdery in this community is crazy. And yeah, I don't know what James Apperson is. And it's anyway, man, y'all are educated as shit. Anyway, what I really started to notice over time on Derek's channel especially, and some of the other channels as well, is that they were just the right size. They were not so big that the live chat and them went scrolling by super fast, and not so small that there wasn't anything happening, but just the right size that you started to really notice that people were having meaningful interactions with each other. And as soon as you start to engage in this community, people engage with you. Like you put a comment in the chat and people respond to it. And then like you're part of this crazy conversation, maybe up to even, you know, including the host and or the guest, and you know, you get with the whole super chat thing and stuff like that. And it was really a game changer. And you know, it all happened so gradually and slowly. But looking back at it, I realize now that I was being drawn into the community. That I wasn't just showing up for the content, I was showing up for that sense of regular interaction with people I was beginning to feel a sense of familiarity with. And then the more I engaged with these people, the more I wanted to, you know, keep engaging with them. It's why, like, when I started my channel, I'd always tell people my origin story is that I'm a chat person. I still see myself as that, right? I don't always see myself as like on the other side as like a YouTube content creator. I see myself as a YouTube content creator who's also just a YouTube person, a person who hangs out on YouTube in live chats and comment section, and I'm just part of the YouTube community, and I just also stream on it. But that's why, because I'm like, no, I'm fucking one of you guys. Don't fucking put me in that category as streamers. Y'all know me from the fucking chats. Get the fuck out of here. We go back like that. Because that's how I felt. Like a lot of people, that's the advantage we had. Like when I started this channel, people were watching me because they knew me from the chat already. So you have a small little people that are, you know, already kind of vibing with you and watching your shows or whatever. That's all it was when I started Hot Program and Late Night Counter Apologetics the night before, because, you know, Hot Program Sunday afternoon, I started doing Late Night Counter Apologetics the night before just to get warmed up for it. That's all I was watching, was just our friends from the chat. So it was kind of cool like that. But anyway, Derek's channel was really like a central place in establishing that sense of community. And that, you know, is where we get that sense of sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, building community beyond broadcast. So it really was all about that sense of showing up and getting to know the people in chat and feeling like they were getting to know you. And at some point, that was what was drawing you. You were going to the channel not because whatever the particular topic that was or whoever that particular guest was going to be, but because you expected that to be the place where your friends were. And over time, I began realizing that these people are becoming more and more important to me. These interactions are becoming more and more important to me. These relationships are becoming more and more real to me and meaningful. And at first, I felt like we were just becoming aware of YouTube as a social media platform. And That's kind of what I mean by you're using YouTube wrong. It's like I felt like so much of my life I thought of YouTube as a place to find tutorials, to be honest. Okay, place to find music to listen to at the gym, right? Okay, cool. Then you start watching, videos or content creators. All right, so it's a cool place to watch shows, maybe TV, right? Flipping through the channels, right? And you go, oh, that was the first thing that hit me. And I started saying this to my colleagues, like, you're using YouTube wrong. Like, that's the problem. Like, you're literally using YouTube like it's a television station, and you need to be using it like it's a bar. You need to be using it like it's a place to regularly go and gather in hang out in a space with your friends and chit chat about what's going on in the community at that time. And that's really what struck me. And then I started to realize that what we were doing, because of the synchronous nature of live streams, right? The live streams are very different than the videos, because the videos you do, if somebody posts a video, everybody's leaving comments, you have a back and forth. Okay, that happened and was a happening, but you weren't there really when it happened, right? And so the live stream was different because everybody was literally there together. It's the synchronous nature of it. That makes it beyond, to me, the social media experience. Because social media is asynchronous. And yes, I think of these terms very deeply because this is how we talk about them in education, right? For instance, when I taught last semester Darwin's Law, I taught a synchronous online class. My students had to show up to Gther at a particular time and sit in their goddamn Gther seats and be part of the class like you would in person, only online. This semester, I'm teaching an asynchronous class where my students do their work on their own time. They don't have to meet synchronously, but they have certain obligations. We're using Microsoft Teams, and they have discussions in assigned groups on Teams, and they have to have an initial post and put their summary of their material, and there's a whole thing. And they also have textbooks and a whole bunch of other assignments that they do on their own, but this is the sort of social component of their course. And I love it. I love it. But it's just a different challenge, right? It's a total different game, synchronous versus asynchronous. And I was sort of realizing that about when did I start on Duck's channel? I don't remember. Certainly well into COVID. So I don't know. These are all, it's a great question. It's really hard for me to recreate the exact history of these things because, they just sort of fade. And I don't remember any of I never marked any of those occasions. Yes, Cherry. Oh my God, we are stage people. The behind the scenes of a stage production is a world of its own within the greater experience. Yes, and I think that's actually, even when we don't use Gther in the foreground, I think that's what a lot of us are liking about it. Somebody spoke about that last night, the sort of backstage aspect of it. So yeah, I started to really realize that this was the bar scene, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. This was back to talk about this, at the presentation, but this was back when No Name was, my side man, as he would call it. And shout out to No Name. That was a really fun and exciting period for this channel, but we started referring to it as the Atheist Bar Hop. And you guys may not remember this, but that was the initial idea to get people in my Discord. The idea was that our Discord was going to be the benefit of joining our Discord, in addition to being able to just chat with everybody offline, was going to be that, people could post links when people went live. We actually called the channel in Discord originally Atheist Bar Hop. And the idea was you would post a link when somebody went live, and then it would make it easier for everybody to stay together and go from stream to stream. And then we also created a video channel. That way you could post and discuss a video if somebody dropped a video and it wasn't live. So that was literally our initial sell forever about why you should join the Discord. But yeah, so that's where we were. And so then the example I went through with them is, let's say, you know, you have a day and you might watch 4 or so streams in a day, and each of them might last a couple hours, and you might start early in the day with this interesting guy named Doug, and he might be talking to some theist and having conversations with them about their faith. And then you might go hang out with this lovely woman named Rebecca, and she might be having a conversation about the Big Bang or evolution, or talking interfaith conversation with someone from another faith. And then, man, main event, baby, it is prime time, and you know everybody, and I do mean fucking body, is going to be at the We Are Mythvision fucking podcast. Everybody gonna be there. Now you missed that shit, you done fucked up for the day. And then when you should go to bed, after Derek goes to bed, because he's got a family and all that shit, and he's a responsible human being and you're not, you might spend a couple hours with this interesting guy named Richard Madsen. And, you know, bam, you might drop a good 8 to 10 hours on YouTube with your little atheist bar hop, and that's on a good day. All right? And that's the beauty. Okay? You've found this community. That's what you're using YouTube wrong is about, okay? You got to stop thinking of YouTube as flipping through the channels, okay? YouTube is about figuring out where the open bar is and then linking up with the gang at the appropriate bar, all right? And then you go beyond social media because you get the real-time synchronous interaction with your friends, and it's wonderful, okay? Life's good. But there are limitations. And there's where we get into what I call trolls and trademarks, the limitations of broadcast and social media. Pay attention, y'all. All right, now, let's face it. YouTube sucks, all right? And we're going to talk about why YouTube sucks. Now, don't get your little feelings hurt. I'm not going to quit YouTube. Okay, y'all know me. I love to do shows. I love to do streams. I ain't going nowhere. We're talking about from the perspective of building community, and we're talking particularly about the perspective of your audience, the community itself, the people that you are trying to build a community between. All right? So we're going to break down the limitations into 3 categories. The first is about availability. The second is about people. And the third is about the type of interactions that actually happen between those people. All right. No, none. You're on a good track, man. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate the conversation in the chat, y'all. Really, really do. All right. So the first issue is, sorry, the bar is closed. And that's what I refer to as the fact that we live in a content desert, which is too often no one is live. It's a pretty simple problem, but it's a very profound, it has profound implications, right? If nobody's live, there's really just nowhere for the gang to link up in real time. And so, like, when I started making the counter apologetics content on YouTube, I actually had it all over on the Hunter Biden's Laptops channel. It's actually it was called the Jay Bundy channel. It was just using my legal name. It's actually my primary YouTube channel. This is my secondary YouTube account. And I was putting my shows on that channel, and then putting my like just gaming streams and random other shit on this channel. But I was live a lot more on this channel. I just didn't think people wanted to fucking watch me all goddamn day. So most people were subscribed just over there. And then as I started letting people know, and I was like, at first I was just doing the shows on YouTube, streams on Twitch. When I started letting people know I was actually just going to do my Twitch streams on YouTube too, on this channel, pretty quickly, almost everybody had switched over to this channel. And so I just stopped doing the shows on Jay Bundy eventually, because everybody was already here. But I realized people were here because I was live all day, most days, and people just needed somewhere to go. And then one of the consequences of that was then the sort of community of content creators that sprung up around this channel, you know, they spend a lot of time going live just so the community has somewhere to go. And so there's that problem I always talk about where somebody has to put on a show for the community to have somewhere to go. And that's not always great for the content or the content creator. The second problem is what I call drinking with the enemy. So we're going to revisit this atheist bar hop. And what I didn't mention the first time that a lot of you guys may be aware of is, let's say this is the layout of your bar hop for the day. Well, Fuckface Doug is actually a complete right-wing bigot. Rebecca is literally a dedicated and committed young earth creationist moron. And Fuckface Richard Madsen is some kind of weirdo that actually believes the Bible is written to and about some sort of intergalactic space Jesus, and that the story does not actually take place on this planet. And if you're in each of these streams for about 2 hours, you wasted about 75% of your day in a bar you really don't want to drink at just because that's where your crowd is. Just so you could get that sweet, sweet Mythvision podcast in primetime. And so that's what I call drinking with the enemy. Because you live in a content desert where so often nobody is live, you don't have an abundance of options. And that means sometimes the only place to drink is a bar you don't really want to drink at. Third problem is what we call demonetized and unsubscribed. And that simply refers to the fact that your content is restricted by laws in the interest of your viewers. We all know about that dreaded DMCA content violation. Your stream gets pulled, your video gets demonetized because of copyright protected content or some sort of TOS violation or whatever other algorithmic problem you may run into, right? And then there's the fact that your audience, even though everybody kind of wants to give the normal content a breather, mix it up, have some fun, do something different once in a while, a lot of time your audience in the moment doesn't really have a high tolerance for you trying out new types of content. So if you roll up on Josh Bowen's stream one day and he's just playing Fortnite, you might not really be all about watching him suck at Fortnite. And, you know, some people will even be agitated enough that they'll unsubscribe from the channel simply because it irritates them to get a notification about content they don't want to watch. And I'm not here to have the conversation. I do really think that it's a two-way street, right? Like, we as content creators do need to just broaden our horizons and be willing to take the hit and understand that it's okay if our viewership drops off. And it'd also be great if supporters of small content creators didn't unsubscribe to them just because they post something that you're not super into. But I'm not here to have that sort of conversation. I'm just here to acknowledge the reality of that this is what happens. And all right, so those are all about availability, right? Sorry, the bar's closed, or it's not a bar you really want to be at, or what you can actually do in that bar is incredibly restricted. The The second category is about the people that are interacting in these YouTube spaces. And I call the first part a troll knows their role, right? Trolls are everywhere. Let's just face it. And part of it isn't necessarily their fault, right? Part of what goes on in this community is these back and forths about really strongly held opinions about issues that are incredibly important to people. And we all love a good dumpster fire. And so since we love a good dumpster fire once in a while, and we are often here to have debates, and when we're not, we're still often here to have meaningful discussions across, enemy lines, so to speak. The nature of the content itself attracts antagonistic interactions, right? But beyond that, I really do think there's a lot of disruptive personalities that are attracted to these type of spaces, and they're incredibly problematic because they intend to be disruptive. So whereas a lot of times you may deal with a person who's just passionate about a certain thing or has a lot to say or has an unpopular opinion, but otherwise doesn't, intend to interrupt the vibe and the flow of the group, you're dealing with people who are here primarily to be disruptive towards what you have going on, whether they're explicit about that or they're kind of more wolf in sheep's clothing about it. Even more to the point, it's incredibly problematic in communities like ours, where a lot of people are recovering from religious trauma or religious abuse. And this is one of the heavy themes at this conference. And I'm really happy to share that with you because that's something that it was great to see so much attention being paid to. And also a lot of attention about the sort of manipulative and controlling tactics of high demand religious groups, right? So here you have a community where a lot of people are trying to recover from religion and get away from the abusive tactics that have caused the very trauma that they're trying to recover from. And here comes people who are literally commanded by their pastors or their own evangelical commitments, right, to actually, here they come to literally bring you the type of manipulation and abusive tactics that you are actually in this community to recover from, right? And so that's, right, it's like the inescapable fucking troll problem that we're constantly dealing with. The other problem is setting trolls aside. I call this the broadcasting problem. The public nature of broadcasting, and anywhere I say broadcasting, you could insert social media, is fundamentally limiting when it comes to building relationships, right? What other context in life do you get to know someone intimately fucking in public? You don't. Because we don't get intimate in public, right? And so broadcasting is great, but it really doesn't provide the proper space when it comes to building relationships because it's public. And so those are problems with people, right? You have trolls, and then setting trolls aside, you're in a public space, and so you can't control the sense of intimacy because you have no control over who can come in and out of the space. And all your interactions last in perpetuity, right? There's a record of them, and they're going to be on YouTube forever. And then there's the very nature of the interactions themselves. And the first problem I call all eyes on me. Gotta say it was dope to present at an academic conference and get Tupac on the screen like, yeah, we're gonna be black like that today. I didn't say it's at the conference, but I thought about that shit when I was in the shower this morning. I was like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, let's get Tupac up in this academic conference, motherfuckers. That's how we roll around here. All right, but look, all eyes on me. On YouTube, the focus is on the content creator. A broadcast is a show. That means the content will always be a performance. I love y'all. I'm not saying that performing is bad. I'm a performer. I identify fundamentally in my soul as a performer. Showtime is go time, baby. But that's not the point, right? The point is that people don't build community and intimacy performing. Even like if I kick it about being a worship musician in the church, even as an atheist, right? I love playing with my band. Like, oh boy, we sound good, y'all. We sound good, and we had great gear and a great venue with a really good sound team and an awesome system. So it is a joy to play with them. Really talented people too, and everybody works. The standard is set. Everybody comes prepared. It's very professional operation. That's why I was very happy about it. But to keep it real with you, that's amazing, right? But that's not where the sense of community comes from. And I realized that even as part of the worship team, the sense of community comes because you're in, connection group, which is what we call like our Bible study groups. And most of the people in my connection group were part of the worship team or the tech team, and they're partners or whatever. And we meet in their homes. And so that's where the sense of community comes from. Or I'm at game night with them. I'm at conferences. I'm at members meetings and campouts, all that type of shit. And so it's participating in the community that builds that sense of belonging. It's not performing for a group of people. And then the second with the interaction I call I Only Have Eyes for You. Broadcasting can feel like living behind a one-way mirror. Your audience is getting to know you, but you're not getting to know your audience. And a big part of that is they can see and hear you, but you cannot see and hear them. And more importantly, the community building, they cannot see and hear each other. And so I like to really think of summing up the limitations of this as I was enthused, actually, where when I first got into streaming, one of the things I noticed about people who were serious about streaming, especially on Twitch, is that everything in the rhetoric is about community building. Like, everybody on Twitch is building a community and has a community, and their community has a theme, and community this, community that, community this, community that. And it was kind of a trope to me at first. I was like, y'all need to chill with that. Like, it's a bit much. But really, the more I learned about streamers and watched serious streamers and really picked up on what they were doing and saw their grind and the way they went about their fucking business, I realized motherfuckers weren't playing at all. Weren't playing at all. Like, just really, I almost feel like if you really want to stream, you should have to go through like some kind of streamer school. And I'm just keeping old school. Like, I'm from the streets. This feels like of streaming, and it feels like Twitch is really. You should have to start on Twitch where it's hard. You should have to start on Twitch where it's hard for people to find you. It's hard to build a crowd. You got to stream all the time for like 0 people. Right? Because you got to be live for somebody to find you. We're gonna talk about that in a minute, but you gotta be live for somebody to find you. Motherfuckers on YouTube don't do that. You know what motherfuckers on YouTube do? They sit like this. Oh yeah, we're gonna sit here. Yeah. Oh yeah, hang on, gang. We're gonna wait for more people to come. All right. Yeah, now, 10 minutes later. Oh yeah, now there's enough people here. All right, let's go ahead and get started, gang. What? On Twitch, motherfucker, you better get live with 0 people and put on a show. Because you never know when that one person might show up. And when that one person shows up, you better be working it, motherfucker. All right, y'all YouTube streamers, y'all fucking spoiled. Y'all need to go to streamer school and spend your rookie year on Twitch, motherfucker. Let's see how bad you really want to build community. I know I sound like an old head, get off my lawn, but it really does, I think, build strong habits and it builds that interactivity. Some of us are really getting there on YouTube. It's just, it takes a little longer, man. Get on Twitch. You will see it's a very different culture. But in the end, it did start to feel cliche or trite in the way that it does when people say it on YouTube or social media. And I realized it's not because the content creators aren't serious about building community. It's because there's limitations of the platform. And the way I could summarize those limitations now that we've gone through all that is that we say we want to build a community, but the platforms are meant for building audiences. And we have to recognize the difference between building a community and building an audience. And it is really great to want to build a community through a platform that helps you build an audience, but it is always going to have those limitations built into it because that's what it is for. It is about broadcasting to as broad of an audience as possible. That's how these platforms make their money. That's what they're here to do. All right, and so that leads us into what I hope you guys are realizing is coming up, how to build a better bar, and why we decided to go ahead and grow through Gther. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over and let this video play out.
Hi, I used to be like you. After a year of working with my employees over video calls, I realized that something was missing. We missed having a place to work instead of just working from our places. That's how we ended up in a Gther office. Let me show you around. It's easy to share something with anyone in your space, a website, a calendar, a note, or the soundtrack to this video.
Hey Sam, are you gonna be at game night later?
Oh, I'll be there. Running into people like that is what makes interactions feel so much more natural on Gther. I have a 2 p.m. meeting with Jeff, and I love that I can see him making his way over.
Hey, what's this meeting about?
Just showing how a Gther office allows us to feel more present during the workday.
Sure beats video calls.
Hey, while I've got you, can you show us your custom workspace?
Definitely.
I just hit the follow button, and now Jeff is leading the way. This makes it easier to have a conversation while you're moving around. Whoa, is that a moat?
It's a koi pond. Never could have had this at our old office.
That's the beauty of a Gther office. It can look like this, or even this. Choosing your style is as easy as that.
Do you want to join an actual meeting?
Sure. These private spaces are great for meetings. We can have a larger conversation without disturbing anyone else in the office. Looks like Mary is working in another window, so Gther automatically mutes her mic and camera. Let's give her a ring.
Hey Sam, I was just wrapping up this presentation. Check it out.
Wow, it's a great idea. I love it. You know what else I love? Not sitting in traffic, not paying rent, not being limited to hiring people based on location. Bill, where are you working from again?
I'm on a boat.
I love that I can host a company game night on the rooftop. Let me step onto the spotlight tile so everyone can hear this last part. Hi everyone, I just wanted to end the video by letting you all know how much I missed this. The camaraderie, the collaboration, the sense of community. I realized that I missed the company of my company. And if you don't have a Gther office yet, come see what you're missing. We'll have you in your own space in 30 seconds when you visit gther.town.
I love that. Oh man, hang on a sec, guys. I'm trying to change my camera over there. So yeah, sorry, I knocked over a bunch of stuff over here. I love that little intro to Gather, and it actually makes me emotional because when I saw it, when I was thinking about building us a Gather, I immediately got it. And I think it was because I had used Gather before. Because my the place where I did my graduate studies used it for a conference. So let me go ahead and continue with the presentation. So, welcome to the Church of the Flying Man, a place to live, learn, work, and play. And as some of you probably know by now, we have a lot of locations built into our Gather. And our Gather is used a bit off-label. What I mean by that is, I think while the developers of Gather certainly see its metaverse potential, and they've discussed it and written about it, they do primarily market it as a virtual office, and a lot of times people use it to make reservations for events like conferences and, business events and things like that. And I think for us, it's served more as a central community hub. I think of it as giving our community an actual sense of place in space. One of the things I didn't talk about when I was doing the presentation, it takes a little bit to think about, but I really do sometimes think of YouTube visually. And by that, I mean in terms of actually being able to be represented on a map of like, I don't know, like a big ass city or a state or something like that. And I think about the overlap of a person in terms of the content creators and, let's say, the viewership of a particular channel as approximating your proximity to another person or another content creator on the map. So, let's say Derek is the center of a really large, almost like the city hub, right? And for me, like, I have a very high degree of overlap between his audience and my audience. Like, my neighborhood and his neighborhood are in close proximity because, but actually I have much higher overlap with him than he does with me, right? Almost all of my audience knows Derek and is exposed to him and follows him, and most of them may even follow him more closely than they follow me. Whereas on his end, like his thing would completely engulf my neighborhood, right? Respectfully, but then be much broader. Whereas, but I would actually have a higher two-way symmetry and proximity to somebody like James, where most of our viewers, there's a much higher overlap between our total viewership. They probably put us about a similar place in their priorities, and then there's a higher overlap even between the channels and content creators that we're closely related to. So I think of it that way, right? And that's another way to think about channels and viewers. So a channel that is into sort of religion versus atheism or whatever content is actually close to us in the larger YouTube landscape, right? They're in our neck of the woods even, right? But they're on the other side of town, so to speak, because we don't really fuck with them. And so the idea with our Gather, our metaverse, is to give our actual community, our neighbors, our friends, the people we consider to be fam, right? The gang, an actual sense of home. And I think of that as a place to live, learn, work, and play. And so it is sort of trying to take Gther beyond the sense of just a place to do an event or a social occasion or just a virtual office. And so we, of course, do have the virtual office, which we are always making more and more use of. Always very, very pleased with that. We've got several gaming rooms throughout the compound. Of course, we've got the church, the actual Church of the Flying Man. And even at our island where we do our overnight broadcast nightly, we've got a cemetery for remembering friends, loved ones, or four-legged friends and loved ones that we've lost. And then, of course, we've got super customized spaces that really allow us to reflect the personality of our community. We've got our Word Wrestling Entertainment location, which I actually use for streaming wrestling pay-per-views, and I actually hope we'll use for Word Wrestling Entertainment when we do, if we host debates and stuff like that. And then, of course, we've got our speakeasy, which is called Cheers. And we've even got an underground dance club where Nitty has been rocking out every Friday. And we've been having our sort of underground raves. Been super, super fun. And so then I wanted to talk to them a little bit about, how it compares to other video conferencing platforms to show that you don't really lose anything. Here you have something that's like a traditional Zoom view when somebody's doing a presentation. Here we're actually seeing, we were watching Look at the Trees, and you have your video panels on your left, you have the full screen shot there in the middle, and you've got the chat over to the right, just like you would in a Zoom meeting. Here you have your traditional grid view, which is what most of you are used to dealing with when you're in a larger Zoom meeting. And then, of course, you've got the map view, which is useful for either moving around or just hanging out and watching the characters do their thing. They can move around, they can dance, they've got some other actions they can do, and you can have fun with them that way. And then so I talked for a bit about how it's really transformed my teaching. When I teach online synchronously, I teach in Gther. I hope to really continue to do that. I found that my students really enjoyed it more than using Zoom, and they really actually got to compare because they were doing half and half. My students used Gther for my lab portion of the course, and then they have used Zoom for. Oh yeah, actually they were in person. Yeah, but they really liked Gther. Most of them said they like it more than Zoom. And so, yeah, that was super fun. As you can see, the area over to the right, I put spotlight tiles under each of those little desks. And so when my students are there, they can all see each other just like you would in grid view, like a traditional Zoom meeting. And then those colored areas to the left-hand side are like little breakout rooms. They've got little timers over there to help them, stay on time with their task. They've got interactive whiteboards, and then my little teacher's desk area is actually a private area, so they can kind of come over to me like they would in a normal classroom if they want to ask questions or something, and they're in a private area with me where we can only see and hear each other. And then I can use those little tabs behind my desk area to check in with my students, although typically when I assign them group work, at least the first time I check in with them, I actually float around. I make sure I take my avatar on the map and actually float around from room to room. Believe it or not, I think moving in Gther adds a real sense of purpose. And without getting too much into it, I'll quickly relate it to sort of what we would say in the social dynamics world, which is that people movement adds a sense of intimacy to people. I always use the example of like trying to meet a girl at a mall, right? So if I walk up to somebody and I try to talk to them, and let's say I'm just on things are magic, and we stand there for a half hour and we talk. Let's say we talk, and then we end that interaction. It's like it's still kind of okay. I met you once. We just stood here talking. I was on my way somewhere. It's just like weird, right? Whereas like if you meet them, you talk to them for 5 minutes, you're like, oh, I'm actually on my way to like pick up something from JCPenney's real quick. Can you come with me? You want to come with me? Yeah, sure. Yeah, great. I could use your help picking out cologne. Right now, we're walking through the mall, what? Together. People see us arrive at JCPenney's, what? Together. And then we're having this little, we used to call them instant dates, right? We're having this little instant date, right? Then you're like, oh my God, you're like the best. My brother's gonna love his new cologne. I'm gonna catch a Jamba Juice on my way about this bitch. Do you like that place? Oh, I love Jamba Juice. Cool. Boom. Then we had the Jamba Juice second mini date, right? Oh, cool. I'm about to get up out of here. Let me walk you to your car before I head back to my vehicle, right? We've just bounced around like 3 or 4 places in that same 30 minutes. Okay? And it feels like more of an adventure, like we've done more together, right? So within spaces and between spaces are considered critical elements of traveling when you're thinking about building relationships. Matter of fact, changing locations within a venue is typically referred to as a move. So like if I approach somebody and we're talking on the dance floor and I go as loud as fuck on the dance floor, let's grab a seat in the booth, then we're over there and I'm like, cool, let's go outside and grab a smoke, right? We call those moves because we're moving from spot to spot. When we change venues, we call that a bounce. Like, yo, let's bounce up out of here and go to the diner. Oh, cool, we went to the diner, let's bounce up out of here, go shoot some pool. All right, let's bounce up out of here and go to so-and-so's crib for a nightcap. Right? That's bouncing from place to place. So I know sometimes people are like, why don't we just create one room and then we all just gather in that one gather space? I hate that. I just fucking hate it. It just, and also it's like the gamification of the social interaction to me, again, you give a sense of space and place by having different maps, different rooms, and literally having them structured and featured for different activities. So I just want to touch on that because I think it's actually important strategically, and I want y'all to understand where I'm coming from. All right. So now one of the things appreciate you, Nick Wiz. Appreciate you. Hope to get you in here. I changed to the wrong scene. Because I'm going to be in the corner and it's going to fuck shit up. All right. So one of the points I made that's really critical about Gther, here I'm using the example from my classroom. At each of these desks, you see those little laptops. When my students pull up to their seats and it says press X to use Avita Ed, they press X and it opens this Avita Ed interface. Now, in my case, this is the actual software my students use in the classroom to perform their digital evolution experiments. And so the key difference here is actually what you see in this little window. It's that it allows them to work while still seeing each other. They don't need to open it in a second tab and then use Avita in a second tab and then they can't see and it's weird talking to each other. Instead, here they can still see, and when they're working, they can still see and interact with their classmates. When they're in groups, they can do the same thing. And so that interactivity is very different. But it's the same way in Gther. Any activity we have integrated into Gther, that's the benefit of integrating it into it, is that it actually allows you to see everybody and look across the table from them. And that's a very different way when you're working on things collaborative collaboratively or playing a game. So when we game, it's really fun to look at each other. When I play cards with my dad, it really feels like we're sitting across the card table from one another because we can see each other and kind of laugh and chit chat, and we love it. All right, so let's go ahead and revisit. No, I don't believe in aliens. At least not yet. I haven't seen anything to convince me, but I don't believe it's impossible. So Gther's better. Let's revisit the limitations and talk about why we think Gther's better for community building. Sorry the bar's closed becomes the bar is always open. Drinking with the enemy becomes members only. Demonetized and unsubscribed becomes you can do what you want and share what you want. And Gther, we don't have to worry, since we're not live, we don't have to worry about terms of service violations or copyright strikes. So in Gther, we watch movies together, we watch TV shows together, we can share pay-per-views together. We can, talk about whatever we want. We can talk however we want. So it's really fun to not have to worry about any of that. Really opens a lot of doors. A troll knows their role. What trolls? There are no trolls in Gther. And of course, interactions are private and personal. In terms of the nature of the interaction, instead of everybody watching and paying attention to me, the interactions are community focused. They're not broadcaster focused. People don't show up to Gther to see me live. They show up to link up with the gang. And instead of the one-way glass experience of I only have eyes for you, everyone can be seen and heard. So it really is a tremendous difference maker, and it's been a radically different model for our community, but it's been one that's incredibly rewarding. And I realized when I came up with this presentation and presented it that it would be good to share this with the community, because I know we've been pushing Gther pretty hard. We've been encouraging a lot of people to join, but this was a really good opportunity to really sit down and let people in on the magic a little bit and kind of break down and explain the differences that we think Gther makes. That way people understand why this has been such a game changer for us. Now, of course, there are still challenges. One is that people are not used to co-working in online communities. What I mean by that is our community is incidentally already co-working a lot of times, meaning you have kind of a routine of getting ready in the morning, getting into your groove at your job, and then at some point, whatever you're doing, you decide that you can work and lurk and you want to see what's going on YouTube, and you kind of check into YouTube and figure out what everybody's doing, and you might chit chat for a little bit in the chat, and then you might work and lurk or stream hop or whatever. And what you don't realize is a lot of people in the community are doing the same thing. They're also working and hanging out on YouTube at the same time. But people are not used to intentionally co-working in online communities. And so it's a bit of a change in mindset to realize, no, we actually have a virtual office. You can come in. If you're a member, you'll get your own cubicle. You come in together and you treat it like a virtual office. If you're on your computer or on your device, you can work, do whatever you need to do, and you either mute yourself and turn off your camera, or you put Gther in another tab. The recommendation for people that are working on a computer or have a computer available to them is you open Gther, you put it on another tab, and you might open YouTube and put that on another tab and get to work. But, people are just not quite used to checking into Gther instead of checking into YouTube. And when they do check into Gther, they often treat it like checking into a channel. Like, oh, let me see what's going on. And if there aren't a lot of people here, or I'm not a fan of what's being played or what's going on, they'll dip. Where really Gther is a space you want your community to take ownership of. You want them to log in and say, "Oh, there's nothing going on." Well, I'll just go to my desk and work for a little while, or I'll go to a little private area and gather, and I'll stream what I'm watching on YouTube, and I'll see if people come join me and hang out with me when they get here, right? And a lot of us are doing that. So I want to say thanks to the crew that is doing this, especially the people that are doing this regularly, if not daily. But it's a learning process as a community. It's a new way to hang and be together, and so there's just a change in the culture that is going to take some time for our members. People are always intimidated by new technology, so Gther's really easy to use, really easy to learn. It's no harder than using Restream or StreamYard. There's nobody in our community that can't use it, and we haven't found anybody that's even really has a hard time with it. Sometimes there's a couple, things that need to be worked out, but if people are patient with themselves and with us, we always get it taken care of. But, people see something new, and it's, humans are just not geared to want to learn new shit all the time. It takes a crowd to start a party. And also I want to mention about the co-working thing. Cherry mentioned in the text that Cam will be doing his personal training. Melody can be doing her virtual assistant work. Today, Stephanie was in there making sales. Literally, we were watching Stephanie make sales. A lot of times, Sean will be working on in his wood shop. A lot of times, I'm over here coding or grading. I woke up this morning and Nitty was working, and he was streaming some cartoons while he was working this morning. A lot of times Wayne will come in, or Lena, and they're people who have jobs that they really can't be that active while they're working, but they'll have their phones in their pockets and listen along and pop in and out when they can. So they're kind of just lurking and gather, and then they get with us when they get off. People that are working in service jobs or essential workers or, high demand jobs. We get that, right? But you can still come in and hang out, and just like you would in YouTube, you can lurk while you work. So people are definitely picking up on that, and it's been really great. We get James in there, we get people streaming, so ton of fun. And all right, so back to the limitations. It takes a crowd to start a party. That's what I mean. You want people to take ownership of it. There's a few of us that get that, and so we sort of hang out there if we're by ourselves or if there's only a few people there. But for some people, that's still a challenge. If they get in there and there aren't a lot of people there, or there isn't necessarily anything going on, they'll kind of just dip. Which is fine. It's totally understandable. But of course, again, Gther's open 24/7. And again, like I said, it takes a crowd to start a party. So it will be easier for all of us to have more synchronous interactions and stay in Gther longer if when people come in and there's nothing going on, they either just hang out until there is, or they decide to make something going on and show us what they're doing and whatever they want to do. And so it's just a bit of, like I said, a cultural shift, but we have people that are doing it, and I'm really, really grateful for them. We have people that, like I say, are like me. We pretty much live in Gther, and so we might wander off to YouTube land and face the great wild for a while and hang out, and then we'll wander on back home to Gther. So we are really growing in our use of it as a home base. And then what I call community withdrawal. And community withdrawal just refers to people sometimes get sick of the content on YouTube, right? They get sick of talking about counter-apologetics. They get sick of the debate me bro culture. They get sick of all the philosophy discussions, whatever it is. And so they leave the community for one reason or another. And I want to be clear, this is always going to be a challenge in community building. I am well aware of the heartbreak some of you are going to cause me when you are no longer part of our community. And I don't say that with any disrespect or hardship. I just say it because I want those of you who are truly here for the long haul to just be aware that this is what happens. Communities recruit people. We work hard to recruit people. We want to actively bring people. We want to let people know we want you in our club, kid. Come join us. But it's not for everybody, and it's not for everybody forever. And so people do come and go. But in this community, because of the issues we're dealing with counter-apologetics and the centrality of sort of YouTube and similar content channels in our community, people often get sick of the content. And so they leave the community because they're sick of the content in a way that's unnecessary, right? People just don't want to hang out with us anymore. That's fine. But it's unfortunate that people don't realize you can get connected with this community and Gther. You can hang out with us and Gther, and you can leave behind the YouTube channels if you get tired of that content or don't want to deal with it that day, and you can still stay connected to the community. And that's what I mean by community withdrawal. It's sort of the unnecessary leaving of the community because we haven't shifted in our culture towards realizing we now actually do have a way to connect with each other beyond this content. All right, and then some of the limitations are inherent to Gther. The free spaces are limited to 10 people. The interface is a little bit different depending on if you're on a computer or a tablet or your phone and what browser you're using. So it's still very easy to learn, but that is a thing. Building a metaverse takes time. That's more of an issue for hosts or creators. And there's a bit of a learning curve to design spaces. I honestly think most people will learn it in 2 minutes or less because it's grid-based. It's incredibly simple. It is far easier to learn than paint. Is the best way. It's super easy to learn, but you do have to sit there and learn it. And even building a metaverse, when I say it takes time, I don't mean it takes a long time. It'll take you a couple hours if you want to build something snazzy, and a few minutes if you don't. But yeah, that's, I always want to be transparent when we're doing academic conferences. It's always important to talk about challenges and limitations of our work. And then, of course, I want to thank my mentors, my teaching mentors, Hattie Dambrowski at Normandale Community College up in the upper left-hand corner, and Rob Pennock down in the right, from Michigan State University. Rich Lenski, my graduate mentor from Michigan State University in the middle, and my current advisor, Dr. Michael Travisano, at the University of Minnesota. Go Gophers. All right, so yeah, that was my presentation, and I do see Carrie Ann is here, Lena is here, Vegetative State is here, I think UC Love is here. So you guys don't necessarily have to, but if you guys want to come over to the stage and just maybe share with the community what you enjoy about Gther, or maybe what it was like being part of the presentation last night, that'd be great. So yeah, because that's what I did. I did my presentation, and then I switched over to Gther in real time. We had about 9 or 10 of us in Gther hanging out at the speakeasy, and then everybody took turns talking to the people at the conference about their experience in Gther. I don't know if anybody wants to come over and chat now. I think Carrie Ann's going to switch over to her earbuds, so I guess we'll wait a minute to at least hear from Carrie Ann. Oh, here she comes.
Are they working?
They are. We can hear you.
All right. I just want to say to anybody out there, come and try it. It's really simple. You can't screw anything up. Anything that you click on, if you mess up, you just exit out and re-enter. So
Yeah.
don't worry
Yes.
about making a mess of anything because, I mean, I know a lot of us are boomers, I guess you guys call us. So,
Yes, it's
just
boomer friendly.
come and try. Yeah,
Boomer
come and
friendly.
try.
Yeah. Yes.
You aren't going to screw anything up. And it really is nice to just be able to genuinely and actually meet people and introduce yourself and get your thoughts out there. So I want to encourage anybody who's out there to try. It's really worth it.
Yeah, UC Love also brought up that it has the speaker boxes, so you can control what you're watching and what your levels of things are, and then you have a raise hand feature. It's got a lot of great features, and we're just starting to explore some of the team building features. So we're going to be integrating calendars and more collaborative ways to work together because we can actually set meeting times and locations in Gther, and then it'll instant travel people to where the meeting is. So we're going to be putting more work into it. Carrie Ann, thanks so much for joining us. And I don't know, I don't know if anybody else is near their mic, but yeah, do you have anything else?
No, that was it.
All right, awesome. Well, yeah, I want to thank everybody that joined me last night again. And I'm going to call it here. We'll probably head back to the ranch and hang out and get into our overnight. So if you're one of our members, please do head over to Bundy Ranch. Otherwise, please join the Discord. Discord is the way you get in touch with us and we can figure out who you are and then get you invited to Gther. Or otherwise we'll come hang out with you in the cafe. So I really, really appreciate this community for joining Gther. One of the things I do want to mention is, of course, our members. Because Gther is limited to 10 people and we regularly get more than that, we've switched over to the premium Gther. It costs $7 per month per person. So I asked our members to donate $10. The extra $3 helps with all the premium services that we use in Gther and also pay for some of the extra spots for our members that aren't able to contribute right now. And so this community has stepped up in a huge way. Our current Gther capacity is 20 people, and we're really hoping to keep it there and then increase it as we gain more members. So I do want to thank everybody that contributes to that. And as part of the thank you, we have members-only content, and you can get it by joining our Ko-Fi. There's a link in the description. And so I really hope that more people decide to become members. Man, it's really awesome. And I want to quickly talk about the members only content because it's qualitatively different. Again, it's not broadcasting. I think of it as microcasting. You're not making a video for hundreds or potentially thousands of people. You're not making a public video. You're making a video just for your friends, just for the fam. And so a lot of filters come off, and we make content that's really meaningful and personal and vulnerable because we know we're making it for our friends and for people who are invested in the community. And so it isn't merely a sales pitch. It's partially sales pitch, but it's also partially wanting you to know that I really do think that the content we've started to offer for our members is another meaningful step in this whole model. And that was an important piece of it to me, was that if I was going to ask people to invest in this platform, I wanted to really create a rewarding members experience. And it's been really rewarding for me as a content creator because I feel like I have a safer space to talk about certain things. And I've been getting into more of my personal journey, reacting to stuff from my mom's church. Lena recently started attending a local church, and we've been talking about Lena's experiences with this new church and Lena's church notes. And we're just going to keep hammering at it and making more content for members. We also have a lot of offline conversations. We are literally in Gther all day, every day. We even do overnight streams. So overnight we'll have HBO playing or music videos or some sort of show marathon. The goal is we always want there to be something happening in Gther. Doesn't mean you always have to do what's happening in Gther, but there should always be something going on. And that's a challenge we take on every day. So do feel encouraged to join us. And I'm so thankful to all you for watching this. I really do. Let me switch back over here. I really do appreciate the opportunity to break this down for you. I know it's super nerdy to sit here and actually talk about Gther instead of actually, doing counter apologetics or something. But I really wanted to share what I shared at the conference with you guys so that you have a frame of reference for why we've made this change, why it's so important to us, and why at the end of the day, those of us that use it really, really have found it to be a game changer, if not a life changer. So, Carrie Ann unmuted. What's up?
Yeah. Can I add one thing about that?
Of course.
We still do a little counter apologetics behind the scenes, okay?
We do.
We watch videos,
honestly,
and we turn on mic and everybody talks.
Yes.
And it's like sitting in the living room with your buddies watching the counter apologetics. And it's so much fun.
100%. 100%. That's a really important point. Even if you're part of the YouTube gang, it's a much more fun way to watch YouTube because we have our own chat. We can say exactly what we want. We can talk all the shit we want. We don't have to worry about trolls. And so I do think of it as a YouTube enhancer. And, or sometimes we're watching the news. And so you can, if you see a video that you like, that somebody drops or of a stream that's going on, you can hop in and be like, hey, so-and-so's going live. Like, let's check that out. Or so-and-so just dropped a video. Let's watch it. And we'll just sit there and watch it together as a group. And I think as more people get used to that, that's the vibe, is that, just pop open Gther in another tab. You can keep doing your thing and stay connected with everybody else.
Yeah, like yesterday, Hive Sci was live doing Bug Fun. She was doing a drive.
Yes, we were watching Hive Science, yes.
Yeah, as soon as we found out about it, we put on Hive Sci.
That's right, that's
right. Yeah,
right.
I mean, we do this kind of stuff all day long, too.
All day
long. It's night and day.
Yeah, it's super
so
fun.
Any time of day, anywhere you live in the world, don't worry about it. Just come and visit. Somebody's in here.
That's right. Amen. And a lot of times it's the people here. It's myself, it's Carrie Ann, it's Lena, it's GC Love, it's Steph. Joel
will be around in the nights. Yeah.
But we're all in here, man. Appreciate you guys. Come join us. If not, we will see you next time. In the name of the Darwin, the Dawkins, and the Christopher Hitchens. Again, thank you all so much. I'm super touched. This was really important to me. I thought it was a big decision to present on Gther, but I absolutely think it was the right decision. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time. Poof!
Why she wanna leave me alone? Saying all I do is wrong. No rights when they been left turns. Playing that she gotta let it burn. Saying that the hell's not a home. Sunshine cause you heard it all before. Sometimes she don't wanna be alone. Most times she don't want me gone. She don't know I try my all. She don't know I sprung in the sun, but I'm going in the winter, so we good to the fall. Remember how I told you I get it and I win. Now I'm got it, you ain't answer my call. Wonder if I've been moving too strong. Maybe
tryna slide, we smoking Zah. Stop acting shy, cause you a demon when I get between your thighs, girl. You like my rib, you know I need you by my side, girl. It's time to roll, she tryna ride.